Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. If you are here for part 3, that means you are ready for some romantasy. Now this is supposed to be a guide where I am recommending these books because I feel like you genuinely will get attached and you will get sucked into this world. And the one thing that I was worried about or intimidated by with romantasy was just the fact that it was magical. It was like magic and all that stuff. I don't know, I just didn't think I would get into it. Then I got into my very first romantasy book thanks to a book club that I had joined online, and I appreciate it so much because it did open up my taste in books, and that's how I was able to kind of branch off a little bit off of just contemporary romance or open door romance, right? So to start off, I will introduce the book that started it for me, and to this day it is my heart and soul. That would be for me Divine Rivals. Divine Rivals is such a beautiful read. So here we have the story of Iris Winnow and Roman Kidd. Now these are two journalists that work together at a company called The Oath, and this timepiece, although it doesn't have a specific time date that they are taking place in, you know that it's way back when, before technology was even introduced into the world, because they are still using typewriters, and they're in the middle of this war between the two gods, and they are in charge of the articles that are going to get released to the public. And there is a challenge going on at their company where they want the best journalists to win, and they're going to win that column piece in the paper, and they're both competing to that. Now at work you kind of see them kind of bicker at each other, kind of challenge each other. They're both really good writers, so it's definitely a challenge for Iris and it's definitely a challenge for Roman. The only difference is Iris doesn't come from money, Roman does. And I think that's also what kind of upsets him, or you kind of think that it upsets him, because he constantly picks on Iris and Iris doesn't back down, so she also gives it back to him. So you get a little bit of bickering at the very beginning. Iris comes from a broken home. So what I mean by that is her mom is suffering with an addiction, and then her brother is actually in the war but goes missing. In order for her not to spiral and to think the worst, she writes these letters for her brother through the typewriter that she owns, and it's very sacred to her because her grandma ended up giving it to her, and her grandma's obviously no longer alive, but her grandma told her to take very good care of it, so that's all she uses. There's upgraded typewriters, but she sticks to that one. So she writes these letters to cope with that to her brother, and she places them in a closet. All of a sudden, a letter appears that was not there before. And so based off those mystery letters, it's like she kind of gets a little pen pal. I guess pen pal, yeah. And so they start writing each other, and they don't know who they are. She doesn't know who that person is, and that person doesn't know who she is. So it's really interesting, very cute to see the letters that they write each other. She pours her heart and soul, he does the same, and they have no idea who each other are. So it's really nice to see that. So basically, yeah, you start to see a really beautiful relationship form based off being open, being vulnerable, and not even knowing who each other were, and they start connecting through these letters due to the vulnerability and just giving their hearts out like that. So that was such a beautiful experience to have and to go through with them. So if you are interested in like historical fiction, just like, or a little bit of historical fiction with, you know, the whole pen pals trope, that's definitely this one for you. So I definitely recommend it. This one has my heart and soul. It is my absolute favorite book of all time. I genuinely think it's imprinted in my bloodline at this point. So Divine Rivals. Before we jump into other books that have series, I wanted to include this standalone, which is the 7-Year Slip. Now, if I were to start in the romantasy section, I definitely would start with this one. I think this is a standalone, so it's only just one book and there's no other, but I would definitely start with this one because this is majority romance with a little bit of magic, and I think this is the perfect introduction for romantasy, to see if you actually would like it and see if it would stick for you. So here we have Clementine and Iwan. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, so I'm so sorry. But basically Clementine gets this apartment that she got from her aunt, and her aunt was her favorite person in the world. They both traveled everywhere together. They spent every summer together, but this is the first summer that she visits that apartment, but it's no longer with her aunt. It is now hers. The aunt left it to her. So now she has to navigate the loss of her aunt and her first summer without her, and it was an unexpected death, so they were just not ready for it, and she's trying to navigate that grief as best as she can, but she ends up realizing that she just can't. She has to go through the motions, and she has to go through the trauma that it caused. As much as she wants to remember all the good in this, she constantly finds herself angry as to thinking, why did it happen to her? So she's battling a lot of emotions due to grief. She meets Iwin. Now there is a couple there is some magic on how they met each other, so that's actually pretty interesting. Right off the bat you kind of get a little skeptical, but trust me, pull it through, hold through, it makes sense at the end. And it's a very short book, so I think it's the perfect introduction into romantasy. Now moving on to series, we're gonna go ahead and start with the Powerless series. And I know this one has a bit of controversy due to it being so close to, it's called The Red Queen, and The Hunger Games. So here we have Payton and Kai. Payton is the silver savior. She is from the slums, which is considered the very rural areas of the kingdom that they live in. And she is living in a world where people without power are not welcomed. Kai is the king's enforcer, but also his son. So Kai is supposed to get rid of these ordinaries, is what they call them. Whenever the king gets notified that there are ordinaries being hidden or found, he, as the enforcer, has to go and basically them. He meets Payton when he's going into the slums, getting rid of a family who was hiding their kid. It's so sad. Honestly, that part's sad. But he meets her as he runs into her because she sees him, and her special set of skills is that she's a good pickpocketer, and she claims to be basically she can read your mind in a sense, or like kind of predict what you are, and it's supposed to be like one of the most basic gifts, but gifted nonetheless, so they can't really get rid of her. So she's living in the slums, she's going through all that, and the way she survives is pretty insane. She describes it really, really well. It's just her and her best friend who are trying to survive the slums. The king has this twisted game. It's called the Purging Trials, and the king does these trials to kind of have people show off their powers and show off how strong they are, and it's kind of twisted, but what can you expect? Ty is part of these trials. As the enforcer, he automatically has to join, and there can only be one winner. So she ended up getting voted into these trials, and she's panicking, she's freaking out because she has no power. So how the heck is she gonna win these? She's gonna die in these trials. That's an adventure all on its own. Obviously, there is more books, so you already know that she survives the trials, but how she survives is really insane. And then the journey that she goes through is even way better. Her relationship with Kai, now I call him my Kai shameless flirt-azer, and you're gonna find out why. Trust me when I tell you, Kai shameless flirt-azer is going to have you kicking your feet. I promise you. And the great thing about this series, it's already complete, so once you start it, you can go ahead and finish it. We have a mini novella here that is about Adina, and that is Payton's best friend from the slums. So we get a little bit of her story. This one is my favorite book out of all. I feel like Lauren Roberts knew exactly what she was doing when coming out with this one, and I just love how tiny it is. It's a little novella, and it just fits so perfectly because it's so tiny. A lot of people were mad about the size, but honestly, like, I think it's the cutest thing ever. But I am glad that she came out with the normal size books for those who didn't like it. So yeah, Powerless. I know you've heard of it. I know your mom has heard of it. I know everybody knows and heard of it. Yeah. This is the second fantasy book that I read, and I was sucked in. I was hesitant at first, but then I was sucked in. And I kid you not, it is addicting. This series is addicting. Now, right now, she only has 3 books out. So we have Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm. Onyx Storm being the one that she just released this year. Out of all of them, it just got better and better and better. Like this one was just all action, all go, 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 gets you hooked, connect to these characters because there's a ton. Connect to these characters, and you do connect to every single one of them. The thing about Fourth Wing, if you haven't heard or if you don't know exactly what it's about, it is a group of people heading to Basgiath College, and that is a college basically training them for war, training them how to defend the kingdom. They are living in a kingdom, and there's walls up around it to protect it because there was this terrible war at the very beginning that led to those walls being brought up. So now the outsiders outside the wall are who they are constantly preparing for battle or preparing for war. And these cadets are then separated based off a year, and they go through a set of challenges, and all these challenges are crazy. Okay, not everybody makes it, and they even announce it at the very beginning. The people that you come in with in year 1 might not make it to year 2, and your class will be cut in more than half by the end when you graduate. So that was very trippy to see, and it kind of gets you scared because you don't want to connect to these characters not knowing what the heck is going to happen, if they're going to die, if they're going to live. Like, what are you talking about? You just told me that more than half of these people aren't going to make it. Like, how do you expect me to connect to these people? Connect to those people, by the way. Connect to every single one of them. Feel the feels, feel everything. That is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Again, it is barely on book 3, and I believe there are 5 books in that series. So if you want to join in, it's going to be really exciting because the next book that comes out, I'm sure it's going to be a huge deal, and you will now be a part of it. So saving the absolute best for last, the ACOTAR series. Now, I know you've also heard a ton about this series. I know everybody's obsessed with it. I know there are people who are very against it, but that's okay. Everyone has their own opinion on this. My personal opinion is that it's getting its hype for a reason. This series is honestly such an incredible journey that I went on, and it was so addicting. I started this one and I couldn't stop. I had to keep going. Honestly, I wish I would have savored this a little bit more. I wish I took my time with it, but instead I devoured it. I devoured this series, and it was such a beautiful journey to experience. I got to meet these new characters in this new world, and this is very, very heavy fantasy, so I would also recommend you listening to this while you're reading. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's called immersive reading, where you read the book but also listen to somebody read it to you so you follow along. That is honestly my biggest tip when getting into fantasy. If you feel like you're struggling, throw on the audiobook and read along with it, or even just like do your chores while you're reading or while you're listening along. I promise you it works. For this series, there is an app. If you have a local library, I would suggest you get your local library digital card. You go to their website and you apply, and then there is an app, and I'll put the app right here. In that app, based off your library, they have this for free. Definitely recommend you listening to it while you read it. It just makes the experience so much better. I think I already read this one 2 or 3 times thanks to the graphic audio. It's literally a movie in your ears. I highly recommend you listening to this using their audiobooks. So just do it. Just do it. I won't even tell you what it's about, but there's some really good guys. There's some really bad guys. There's a really good sister. There's a really bad sister. There is Bat Boys. There is Aquaman. Just read it. And the good thing about that series too is that I know a lot of people prefer the Throne of Glass series, and the reason I haven't recommended it yet is because I'm not done with it. I still have 3 more books left in that series to complete it, so I can't recommend something I don't know fully entirely how it's going to play out. But I know a lot of people prefer the Throne of Glass series. For people who are heavy into romance, ACOTAR is your savior, so I would suggest starting with ACOTAR. So yeah, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope this helps. I will link down below everything I mentioned, including the app that you can do for your library to get ACOTAR's audiobooks for free. I will see you in the next one.